Okay, today we're going to talk about what happens when a divorce bomb hits. And this is being brought to you through the courtesy and kindness of George Bruno and his Listen My Son channel. So you're going to see me looking down at some notes because I want to make sure that we get you all the information you need. And you're going to want to pay attention. You're going to want to take notes yourself because there's a lot of information in this short video. So get your pen, get your pencil, get ready. Okay, let's talk about some precursors before the bomb hits. One, let's say, for example, you're making part of your income off the books, and she's been filing a joint return with you. All of a sudden, she wants to file a separate return. That means she has talked to an attorney and/or CPA or both. And in an upcoming divorce proceeding, she's going to want to tell the judge you're hiding income without her being a co-conspirator in doing that. So there's a big warning. Another one is if you're having your routine everyday argument and all of a sudden you're hearing language that says, I feel threatened, magic language, she's talked to an attorney. She wants a boob job after all these years. It ain't for you. If she is all of a sudden getting in shape, it ain't for you. So those are some of the precursors to look for before the bomb hits. Okay, that bomb is going to hit one of three ways. The least likely is you're going to be served with papers before you even had any warning. That's the least likely. It's not impossible, it happens, but it's the least likely. The next one is you're going to get a letter from a lawyer that says, we represent your wife who's looking for a divorce. Please lawyer up so we can have a discussion and negotiations to try to settle this amicably, or words to that effect. That's more likely than getting hit with papers right away, but it's less likely than the last one, which is the first one, which is when she says to you, I want a divorce, or words to that effect. Now, for the purposes of this video, we're going to call your wife Ruth because women in a divorce are ruthless. So we're going to do that for irony's sake because I like irony. What do you do when you hear those magic words, I want a divorce? Here's what you don't do. You never ask why. You never ask what's wrong because when you do that, you have given up all your power. Here's what you say. Well, Ruth, if you want a divorce, if you think that's the best way to go, I'm certainly not going to stop you or stand in your way. And then get out of there. Don't go to a bar. Go somewhere else. Go to a gym. Go do something else. Don't get drunk. But get out of there. Do not feed her because she has pre-planned this. She has expected some kind of big discussion, maybe an argument. Maybe you asking, why, honey? What's wrong? You ain't going to do any of that. You are going to fight her emotions and lack of accountability with male logic. And as soon as you hear those words, from now on, you will conduct yourself so that nothing you do or nothing you say is going to hurt you in a court of law. Now, that's simple, but it isn't easy. But you got to do it. Because if you don't do it, you're going to screw yourself. Okay, what next? Within the first couple of days of that bomb being dropped, this is what you want to do. First of all, you get yourself a pay-as-you-go burner phone. Second of all, you get yourself a snail mail address, either through the post office or maybe something like a UPS box, and you also get a new email. You want to have means of communication with your attorney that you're going to get and you're going to need that she can't access. Now, if she's stupid enough to keep her phone on a family plan you might have, you're going to be able to tell who she calls and how long those calls last. You're going to be able to identify the numbers. You're going to be seeing if she's talking to an attorney or she's talking to a boyfriend or whatever she's doing. But you don't make that mistake. Separate phone, separate email, separate snail mail address. Real easy to do. You can do it all in one day. By the way, I've seen this. If you have cameras on the inside of the house for security purposes and all of a sudden they're not working anymore, you may be being set up by the wife so she can make some complaint about domestic violence that never happened. Always keep your phone on you when you are with your wife. So if she starts acting out of pocket, you film it. If she tries to take the phone away from you violently, you got that on film too, and you immediately call 911 and have her arrested because, folks, first one to the precinct wins. Don't let your macho get in the way of your strategies. And this is very important if you have firearms in the house, whether it's long guns or handguns. Get them out of there. What do? Well, the fact you have guns means you know somebody that's a stocking dealer, an FFL licensee. You talk to him and you say, okay, look, what do you want to store my guns? How much? You do not want those guns in the house because if she makes some kind of complaint, well, he threatened me with a gun, and you have a receipt that says, well, before that, you gave it to an FFL dealer, kind of makes her look like the liar that she is. Furthermore, the last thing you want in a domestic situation is to have the cops take your guns because they'll hold them until the divorce proceedings are over and then lots of luck trying to get them back easily. So it's very important you do that. Okay. This is also very important. If you can, get your name off of any joint credit cards or freeze them if you can. Number two, if you have joint bank accounts, take one half of that money and put it in a separate account. Keep records of it. Don't hide the fact. Just do it because I've seen time and time again when it's time to pay a very expensive retainer to a very expensive lawyer, she's either going to use a credit card with your name on it or she's going to take it from a joint account. You don't want that. This is all stuff you should be doing in the next day or two right after she drops the divorce bomb. Once you hear the I want a divorce, do not sleep in the same room with her. Don't leave the house either. Don't vacate it. But you want to put distance. Even if you're going to sleep in the goddamn basement, doesn't matter. You want to be able to say, I was not in the same room with her. And remember, you have your phone camera with you to prove that. You have to be very careful because a lot of the dirty shit they're going to pull is to make a make-believe domestic violence incident to get a order of protection or a restraining notice to get you out of the house so you can't live there, but you do have the privilege of paying the rent and the mortgage. You don't want that. You want to avoid that. If you have young kids, there's no need for you to tell the kids what's going on. If they ask you what's going on, it says, Mommy and Daddy have some business to discuss. That's all. Don't worry. We both love you. The end. If you have older kids, then you do what you want. If you don't have any kids, you do what you want. Look, there's two reasons, well, maybe three, that she wants a divorce. One, you're a broke joke and she wants to find somebody better. If you're a broke joke, you don't have to worry too much about dividing assets you don't have. Number two, she's hanging out with Chad and wants to dump you. Number three, the most likely one is you do have some assets and she's looking for payday because she knows that the court's going to give her one. Now, depending on the state you're in, you may be in what's called an equitable distribution state. You may be in a community property state. What does that mean? In an equitable distribution state, they're going to give her up to one half of your stuff that she doesn't deserve. In a community property state, they are going to give her one half of your stuff that she doesn't deserve. Okay, after you've done all that, start getting your financial records together. I would say at least the last 3 years. That's credit card statements, bank statements, stock account statements, that kind of stuff. You're going to need them because they're going to be demanded within the proceeding. If you get the letter from a lawyer up right away. Obviously, if you get served with papers, lawyer up right away. One of the things you can do before that happens is if there are certain bombers in your neighborhood, in other words, certain guys that are known as the rough, tough divorce lawyers, kind of guys like I used to be, you want to go to them for consultation for two reasons. If they take the consultation, she can't go to them. Even if you don't use them, can't do it. It happened to me. On the other hand, if they say they can't consult you, you know she's been there. So it's a very good way of finding stuff out and precluding her from using the best guys. The actions you take in the first couple of days, the first 30 days from getting hit with the bomb are the most important. Now, as time goes by, if there aren't any papers served in up to 60 days and 90 days, maybe she's reconsidering. But don't assume that. Maybe she's saving up and trying to find funds to get a divorce lawyer. That's possible too. But conduct yourself according to the rules that I set down for the first 30 days, the first few days, actually. She does not get access to your communication with a lawyer. You avoid like hell any kind of argument. As George says, put your hands in your pocket and walk away. Do not start taking up drinking as a hobby. Do not medicate yourself. You're going to weaken your will, weaken your reserve, get more emotional, and you're basically going to fuck yourself up. Go to the gym. Use it as an excuse to get back in shape. Punch a bag, not your wife. You don't want to do anything violent. You don't want to say anything violent. Remember, you don't want to do anything that you don't want seen or heard in a courtroom. During those 30, 60, or 90 days, if she says, well, let's talk about the divorce and how we're going to settle things, the answer is no. The answer is, honey, let's get the lawyers to help us out and do that so we make sure for both of us we get a fair settlement. The end. Don't further engage. Now, within the first 90 days, assuming there is or there are papers served you obviously have to hire an attorney and respond to those papers. The court, depending upon your jurisdiction, maybe within a month, month and a half, is going to have a preliminary conference where they're going to discuss things like exchange of financial information when the case has to be ready, and if there are any things that can be settled. Also, if you have kids that are underage, probably the appointment of a law guardian or whatever your jurisdiction calls it, and maybe the appraisal of certain assets, which can cost you a lot of money depending upon what the assets are, especially if it's a business. Now, you can expect a lawyer to make a motion for temporary maintenance or alimony if there's kids, temporary child support, and legal fees. You're going to have to fight that. There's nothing you can do to avoid having that being made. You're going to have to fight it. Do not try to settle this case yourself. Do not engage in financial discussions with your wife. Sometimes, and I've seen this happen sometimes, after a while the proceedings going on, the wife wants to get rid of the attorney and represent herself, as stupid as that sounds. That's beautiful. That's great. You want that. So these are the things you want to keep in mind. The minute you hear the bomb drop, I've told you what to do. You want to continue that through 30, 60, 90 days. If after 90 days nothing has happened, then maybe it was just a mood, but now you're on notice. And now you're going to assume it's going to happen again. You must use your male logic to counteract and overcome a female emotion and lack of accountability. All right, guys, you know what to do now. Like I said, it's simple, but it ain't easy. You don't have much of a choice if you want to survive and thrive through your divorce action. We'll talk to you soon.